Today on Car Traction, I have another update video for you with the magnificent Austin Pathfinder pedal car project, my high school restoration project. I have made 3 videos I think on this car. In my last video I took the drivetrain out of it, so the pedal car is considerably lighter than it was before, and we're almost at a stage where the car can be sandblasted. Obviously it needs to be sandblasted to get all this horrible rust off. It would take hours and hours and hours to go over it with a little wire brush. So it's going to get sandblasted, and then we'll have to get some primer and paint. There's a couple more things to strip off, but the strip down is pretty much complete. So in today's video, I don't quite know what I'm going to be doing because it's in the future, but maybe a preparation for sandblasting, maybe even painting. I really don't know what will appear today. So let's just get on with it and see what we can get done over the next few days and weeks on the wonderful 1949 Austin Pathfinder. So what are the jobs for today? Well, the car, as I said, is pretty much already stripped down. The only thing that really is left to take off is the wonderful head badge there, imitating of course the vintage Austin logo based on the Austin 750cc twin cam racer. So that's going to have to come off. There's some absolutely tiny nuts and bolts for that, so that is probably going to be quite annoying. And the other thing is these mysterious holes in the bodywork. Now, I've done pretty much all the work on this car, and that's the point of it. This is for me to learn how to restore. It's my project for my school. But these little holes, these two hold the dashboard panel in, but these and that one are absolutely pointless, and they need to be welded up and flatted. And as much as I would love to try welding, an original 1949 Austin Pathfinder restoration project car is not the sort of thing to start to practice welding on. I'm sure at some point I will try and practice some welding, but I think our Dad's just going to have to do these, because if I did it, I do not want to mess up this car. It's totally original, and when you're learning to weld, you just use little bits of metal. You don't use something like this. So just a little disclaimer, the bits of welding to fill these in and flat them will be Dad, but that should be the only thing that I don't do myself in this restoration. So let's see if Dad will be able to weld up these little holes, which are seemingly pointless, to be honest. And while I do not trust myself to do the welding, what I will be able to do is prepare the welds. Dad will be using a MIG welder to put the blob into there and smooth it over with a grinder after, which I obviously don't really want to be doing, but I can certainly prepare it. And for MIG welding you have to have a bare metal surface, so I've got this little mop on the end of a drill, which I use to clean up these stub axles actually. Safety first, of course. Don't want any Pathfinder metal, made with metal from offcuts of Austin pedal cars, real cars by the way, these Austin pedal cars. And I'll just clean off this layer of rust around the hole. Do you think you could hold that for me, Dad? Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think my thing needs tightening up. Again. Is that enough, do you think?
Yep, that'll do.
Okay, so I'll just do that for the other ones here. So it's these two.
Those two.
Are they on the other side as well?
No, just this.
Oh, okay. Right, so that's those all cleaned up. So now it's over to Dad for the welding. So there you go. First hole is done. Dad's just blobbed a bit of weld in there and then grinded it back. Just a light bit of filing. It's pretty smooth already, but we might have to just put a tiny bit of filler. I didn't film much of that, partly because we only have one set of ear defenders for the grinder, which means one of our ears is going to be ringing a little bit. And this time I'll try and film a little bit of Dad welding, plugging it up, holding the mask and holding the camera. We'll see. So that method seemed to work for the first one, so I think Dad will try and do the same for the second one. Very nice. Dad's made up a little piece of metal to fill in the hole on the front there. So now it just needs to be, please focus, tacked in. It's the second one Dad's made as he dropped the first one and it went into a void. So yeah, now tack this one in. That's a nice little panel. Can barely see that there's a repair at all now. That's come out really nicely. There's a little bit of a dent around here which I'll have to knock out.
Well, that was there before, wasn't
yes,
it? Yeah.
but that's very, very nice. There's just a couple of tiny cracks which will probably have to be filled in. Or I might be able just to flatten it with this.
Yeah.
Bit of both probably. Well everyone, today is the day that all this weeks and months of prep has been leading up to. Today we're going to be saying goodbye to the Austin Pathfinder for a couple of days or so, because today is the day that this car is getting sandblasted. In previous videos in this series and a little bit in this video, we've sorted out little bits of bodywork, stripped everything off. These are all the bits that are going off to be sandblasted. And yeah, it's finally time to get a sort of big checkpoint in this restoration. So sandblasting is a very specialist treatment. It's obviously nothing that we could have done ourselves. That's just absolutely impossible. You need the specialist. So we're taking it down a local place of ours, and when this comes back we'll get some primer on it nice and quick so it doesn't rust, and then we could maybe look at getting some paint on. So it's all very, very exciting. We are getting to the sort of, as I said, the larger checkpoints in this restoration. But yeah, let's load up the little paddle car and send it off to the sandblasters. Now the last time the Austin Pathfinder was in the back of our Honda Accord, it was when we went up to Nairn, right at the top of Scotland, to get it, and some would say it looks better now, some would say it looks worse now. It's certainly had a lot of work put into it, literally just to remove everything off it. It's just the bare shell and we've got all the parts here. The sandblasting process should just absolutely transform this car from looking like a rusty wreck. Even though there's no structural rust, it looks all brown and horrible. When it comes back it should be bare metal and it'll just look a lot better. It's a process that needs to be done, and then before long we'll make sure to get some primer on there just to protect it. So yeah, a very, very exciting point in our restoration. I'm back on the Austin Pathfinder today, my restoration, and a lot has happened actually since. It's like months since I recorded the last thing, because a lot has been going on. Now the front end is the main difference here. As you remember, there was the original panel which didn't fit at all and was in pretty terrible condition. Oh, have you still got it?
you go.
There you go. So this is what came off like that. It was hanging off like that. And I had wanted to do this myself, but if you look at this little panel, it's actually quite a complicated thing to make. That's really weak actually, I almost snapped it just like that. Because this is a proper sort of high-skilled panel beating sort of thing. For this you need an English wheel. And I had wanted to do this myself, but the option was try and knock it out with a hammer on myself, which I would have liked to do, but it's called a compound curve this, so it's curving that way and it's also curving that way. And that's pretty much not achievable on a hammer. So I thought, you know, we know quite well a local coach builder to us, and I thought, I'll have a go at doing it with him, but due to insurance and things like that, because of all panel beating machinery and stuff, that wasn't possible. So we ended up having to farm out this aspect of the restoration, as he has, I think, 2 very nice English wheels, which are big money bits of kit. So we don't have them here because they're huge and very expensive. So he wheeled out, is the term, this new replacement panel here, and he also did shrinking here, this is called, because there was a proud sort of, it went like that, effectively like a bump, which means the metal has stretched to come out. So he heated this up and very sort of slowly hammered at it and get it back into shape a little bit. He filled up with weld the original holes from the grille and redrew new ones because those just weren't at all in line from new. So there's been a lot of work, which I could have potentially done some of these bits myself, but this bit here is a very specialist thing to do, very difficult, and you need an English wheel to do it. You just can't do it without it. And it's the sort of thing, once again, you know, I'm not going to practice my first ever big piece of metal work on an original really rare and valuable pedal car like this, but hopefully now I should be able to complete all the rest of it, because I've just been going over this morning, probably about an hour or so. I should have filmed it really, but there was quite a big dent there. It probably appears earlier in the video somewhere, just where the metal has effectively stretched out. Something's gone like that into it, and it's gone like that, like a little valley. So for that, you get these are called a dolly, and you put those, if a dent goes in, you put those against the outside of the body and get one of these panel beating hammers with polished heads, and you just sort of hit out from the inside and you shrink the metal so it's stretched, because if you think when there's a valley, the net distance it goes is further. The metal has stretched out to go in, so what you're trying to do is shrink the metal, try and get it to go back into where it was originally, go back into shape. So that's what I've been doing this morning with the dolly on the outside, to give something to hit the metal against so it doesn't create a stretch that way. And it's come out relatively well, to be honest. It's the first real bit of bodywork stuff I've done, but there's plenty of other dents, so I'll show the process on that. But yeah, that seems to have come out pretty well. There was quite a sort of sharp crease on it, so I'm quite happy with that. But this is a very straight little car, but of course it's so old and children have been around it. It's been crashed a few times, so the front is now pretty much straight, but there are a few other dents just around the car as a whole, so they're going to need a similar treatment. This was the biggest one up here at the top of the county, but this is probably the next one I'll tackle here. So once again, this originally would have been a straight line there. It's now gone into a valley. It's covering a further distance, so I need to go on the inside of that and hit it like that. But the thing to do is not to just hit it like that, because then if you think that's just going to create a dent the other way, it will create a mountain. So what you do is, when you're trying to put the metal back where it was originally, you sort of hit it like that, and then you hit it pushing it upwards and then pushing it sideways and then pushing it down. This is quite sort of simple bodywork. It's like the foundations, but you don't want to hit it like that because it will just create a mound. It will just push that metal out the other way, so you're shrinking it, which is not a very, most people think, oh, you know, you're just hitting it, but actually you're sort of hitting it like sort of skimming across it in a way.
Coaxing it back into place.
Yeah, you're pushing it in all directions until it sort of calms down a bit and roughly goes back.
So you're going to hammer from inside.
Yeah. So this is probably the closest dolly we have. This one, but I'll probably use that side. Do you think?
Yeah, for now. So get round to where you were before, and then.
Yeah. So I need to feel the inside where it is, where you can see the high point. And then, do you think I use the small hammer?
Yeah.
So I'm putting the dolly to stop it creating a mountain on this side.
Plus, it's very springy, this, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. Yeah, it's there. So I'm just going to be hitting it like that, hitting it like that,
bouncing,
hitting it like that, hitting it like that, to try. This one isn't as bad as this one, so it should be okay. But to try and make it flat again, but it does take a little while. Yeah, just keep checking.
Your fingers tell you more than your eyes sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, feeling for compression and that. Yeah, so you see all these are just like corrosion things, so those will be skimmed over with filler.
But a stopper on those will get those.
Yeah, these are physical dents.
Yeah, something on there. There's the tiny.
Well, yeah, there's tiny ones everywhere, but yeah, they'll probably get filled over anyway. But that's the sort of, if you're filling over dents, that's a really messy way of doing it, really, because filler is not a good thing.
Well, in the right.
Yeah, but if you're using it
situation,
to shape things, like.
But the more you can get out.
Yeah,
doing
you
it
want to do it all with.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could have just filled in the holes on there, but you don't really. You want to use either a little bit of metal to put in, like we did with the holes that used to be on the side, on that side, or just weld itself. But filler's a messy way, really, isn't it? Yeah, the dent's pretty much out now, but I can just feel a very slight high point there. So if you think if this is like the profile of the metal, and the dent goes in, it's always going to like flick up a tiny bit towards the end of it, and that's kind of what happened here. There's not really one at the front, but just at the back point of this compression that I've now taken out, just a tiny high point. So for that, I'll probably just find. That feels about right, but I always sand it just to see, because sanding shows there's a high or a low point. Still just a tiny dent.
That's all. I mean, that high point's gone now.
Yeah, but there's just a really tiny
Just
bit
a
of
darker
dent
bit there, where the paint is still in a bit of the valley, but it's negligible. But if you run your finger like that,
yeah, I can feel it.
you
Yeah,
can feel it, can't
only a tiny bit though, isn't it?
you?
Today, everyone, we've got the cellulose stopper, and that's because we've knocked out all the major dents on the body, but there are all these. The bonnet's probably the best example, actually. The pock marks of where the car's been sandblasted. It's just sort of corroded. It's not rust. It's just sort of
just where the rust was.
yeah. They're not sort of structural rust. It's just sort of surfacey rust, and it's just left its mark. And so we're basically filling, but I know filling is very much a bit of a buzzword for the classic car community, because everyone thinks, oh, you know, just sort of fill over rusty things, but that's a different type of filling. That's not the sort of filling we're doing. The filling we're doing is a very thin layer of stopper just over all the little pock marks, literally just to smooth them over, because there's no sort of panel beating or non-filler way of. It's just impossible to smooth these over. So as you can see, for the last, I don't know, we just started this afternoon, so Dad's just been showing me how to do a few on this side, and I've been doing a few as well, and moving on to this side. I haven't done this side yet, but all these sort of little marks right here, and there are a couple of dents here that I wasn't able to knock out with the hammer, and that's because the floor from the sort of floor in the boot is the exact point where it's not above and it's not below, so I can't get a hammer in there and the dolly on the other side, or vice versa. So I'm just going to have to fill over those, which isn't a travesty. It's just sort of, I would have preferred to do it the normal way, but it's just how it is. But rest be assured, we're not sort of gobbing, I think is a word associated with filler a lot of the time. So we're just going to make the concoction. I keep being reminded to put the lid on, because this stuff dries in like half a minute. Then you use like a debit card or something like that, in this case Morris Minor Owners Club, 70 years anniversary something. I don't know, a membership card, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
All this side's done, so now I just need to find more pockmark places. I think I'll do that one there, with that line. It's probably the next one to do, so I'm just sort of scraping a little bit off of the new stuff onto the end of the card, and then sort of dragging it across.
I'll do.
Yeah, and it looks ugly, but we'll be sanding all this before putting on the first real coat of primer. So you won't see any of it, and to be honest, I'm trying to get it as smooth as possible, which is kind of the point. So it won't have to be too much to sand.
You have to keep moving because that stuff goes off.
Mm. It's actually worse if you put less pressure on. It works better if you sort of drag it loads. Yeah, I'm just skimming over very, very lightly. Here's the next one. Yeah, that's right.
Just start where the head in was.
You can see just the fillers gone in to it, and then I'm just trying to get as smooth around it as possible and finish filling that hole in.
A few there as well. So just working around it.
Against the one on the card, yeah, I think that's
It'll take a while.
I'll take that one further.
We've still got to pull down. Maybe revisit it for a second. Go. So,
Is that one okay? No, I think.
few bits off.
I think it'll take that. Yeah, it takes a different. Now, the crazy thing about today's probably 20-minute video is it spanned like 3 or 4 months, and that's just because I think 2025 has been the busiest year of my whole life, and the progress on the pedal car as a result of that has been quite slow. We've actually got a lot done, but it's taking a long time, and I'd like to get it done this year. So, I mean, I've been uploading twice every week, I think, over the summer. The summer is when the majority of old car events, which is basically what I do as a full-time job over summer, and that's when, you know, we're away every single weekend and editing during the week, and that just means that there's very little time where I can just get started on this car. You know, you'd think, you know, oh, I'll just, you know, do an hour here and there, but really what you need to do is do 5 hours here, then wait a week and then do another 5 hours. You know, you can't just nibble away at it. You have to do it for a considerable amount of time, and then you have to try and find that time again. But hopefully progress should speed up maybe over the next month or so. Late September is where the sort of mainstream old car events tend to wind down a bit, so hopefully I'll be able to get some better progress on the pedal car. But we've done a few things since you last saw me. It's had a couple of other skims of filler on over some of the bigger compressions and pockmarks that we weren't able to go over. I've spent like 4 hours in one day sanding this, which if you're a restoration person, you know that that's just something you have to do, and I don't know whether it sounds like a long time or a short time, but it felt like it, although it's probably a decent workout for the arms. So now this is all nice and smooth, and we actually just put this, finally the grey primer has arrived, and we just put a little bit on there and a little bit on there to see how it would react, see if we sanded it enough. It's all very, very smooth. See if we sanded it enough so that you can't see the brush strokes. It looks like maybe very slightly there. We are getting some brush strokes, so that might need more sanding. And also I haven't sanded back the latest little skim of filler, only in a couple of places, just because there were some bigger pot marks there. The bonnet I haven't started yet. It's, to be honest, needs like painting in filler. It's just got pot marks all over it. It needs a lot of doing. And also the grille, which is here, started on that, but it's just really, it's a really corroded panel, and it's just still so bumpy. I'm probably verging on cutting myself, so that's probably going to need a lot of work as well. But thankfully we're not too far away from putting primer and paint on. Now that will be in the part 4 of my Austin Pathfinder restoration series, because I've had a surprising amount of people actually asking about this, because I know it's been so long since the last update video, just because we've been so busy, and to be honest quite a lot of work's gone into it, but not a lot of it's appeared because it's sort of boring jobs like sanding, which isn't as interesting to watch as, say, welding or taking something apart. But rest assured, stuff is getting done. Yeah, a little bit more panel beating maybe around the front. I did some more the other day because there was just a little bit of straightening to do, but the vast majority of the car is now pretty much ready for paint, and to be honest, that's actually a very good finish. I haven't checked it out since spraying it on actually, and that's very good, so hopefully that should transfer to the whole car. I'll do a bit of sanding on the inside, but I won't bother do any filling because it's just really awkward to get to, and it never would have been perfect new, to be honest, and I'm trying to make it into a faithful restoration. As I say, these sort of dents that were like around here, could have just used the filler or stopper to go over them. That's the messy way. That's not how they would have done it back in the day. The way they would have done it is with a hammer on dolly, like I've tried to show you a little bit in the video. And I'm going to wrap up today's video here just because I've had so many requests. I want to get this video out fairly soon, and yeah, I'd love to hear what you think of the progress on the pedal car. I'm sorry I've not been able to show as much as I would have liked to, but in the winter months when we're doing fewer events, I should have a lot more free time to progress with the pedal car. So thank you for watching today's video, which I think again has spanned like 3 or 4 months or something crazy. And in the next part, I imagine it will be primer and paint, which will be a very big part of the restoration. As I said, need to sort out this very, very bumpy bonnet, the very bumpy grille, and also another thing to do is to clean up the drivetrain, which will probably appear in the next video. But thank you very much for all that. The funny thing is at the start of this video you've seen things like the Renault 4CV, things like that, and the Standard 8, they're all gone. That's how dated this video is. Now, it probably hasn't even shown the 31 Buick down there. You know, it's been a long time, but yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to, hopefully as much as you are, the next part in the Austin Pathfinder restoration.